Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic guest on today, and he's going to be telling us and talking to us about the 4 steps to unlocking your next opportunity. And also, he's going to talk to us about how you go about encouraging, building confidence and faith, and also making sure that we take care or prepare the next generation to be our future leaders of tomorrow. And this great man is Dr. Newton Miller. I call him Dr. Newton Miller. And I am so excited about having this young man, I can call him young man, on the show today. And I'm looking forward to the enlightenment that he's going to bring. But, I always got to bring my co-host in that helped me out and hooking up this intro, because she is so wonderful at doing it. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Hello, everybody. And, this is going to be an exciting show today. It's Thursday, August 11th. And we have this amazing guest on the show. And he's going to educate us a lot about, unlocking your next opportunity and the steps involved, the 4 steps involved. So we're definitely excited to have him here and for him to kind of go over, how we can do this and why this is important to our communities, especially the Black and Brown communities.
Wow. So wherever you are watching this at, whether it's E360 TV, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, wherever mechanism is over 16 mechanism that you can be watching this live. You can be part of this conversation if you go to StreamYard. Now, you don't have to go to just on the comments. Allow StreamYard to use your Facebook picture, and you can ask this young man any questions that you want. So, Michelle, I'm excited and I'm ready. Can you please tell our listeners what's the title, the purpose, and introduce this great man?
Yes, the title of the show today is 4 Steps to Unlocking your next opportunity. And the purpose of the show is getting to know motivational keynote speaker, author, lead faculty of the Education Studies / Educator preparation programs at the University of Arizona Global Campus, Dr. Newton Miller, aka Dr. Newt, and also talk about why the topic 4 steps to unlocking your next opportunity is so important, especially in our Black and Brown communities. And Dr. Newt is going to go over his 4-step process and, discuss, does one step have more importance than another, and do they need to be done in any particular order? We're going to talk about, his role as an educator, mentor, consultant, and pastor, and have any patterns emerge as to what roadblocks commonly prevent people from walking into their next opportunity. And we're going to talk about the tools and resources recommended for people to use as they implement the 4 steps to pursue what is next for them in their lives. Let me tell you a little bit about this special guest today. Dr. Newt has been committed to the education arena since 1995, when converted non-traditionally from the ranks of the engineering field. His research interest lies within educating at potential populations, focusing on the systemic thinking tied to student achievement, effective school cultures, and facilitating programming and instruction that promotes educational success within at potential adult populations. He currently serves as the lead faculty of the Education Studies and Educator preparation programs at the University of Arizona Global Campus. Some of his contributions to the world of education have been lauded by honors like the Impact Award from the Urban League in 2018, Provost Award for Outstanding Faculty from Ashford University 2014, and the Excellence in Teaching Award from Swarthmore College 2012. He's the author of Why Some Seeds Don't Grow, a book that sheds light on high impact principles needed to enhance the educating, mentoring, and parenting of urban youth. Dr. Newt believes educators are meant to facilitate the thinking that changes the world. Thus, his mantra is educate, motivate, help them grow. And here's a fun fact about Dr. Newt. His dream job was as a structural engineer until he stood in front of a classroom of knowledge-hungry inner-city students. It was at that moment he knew his true purpose and career path was to be an educator. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, E360, and over 16 live streaming platforms welcomes Dr. Newton Miller, aka Dr. Newt, to the show.
Dr. Newt, how you doing today, sir? How you doing?
Fantastic, man. Every day's a good day on this side of the dirt, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I mean, I had an opportunity to talk to you a time or two, but actually getting you on and getting you on the show, and I'm so excited about all the great things that you're doing out there, especially from the education arena. So before we get started, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you, your background, and how your family influenced you to, whoever influenced you to be the person that you are today?
Yeah, well, I grew up just outside of Philadelphia, a little place called Media in Chester, Pennsylvania. So I was in a little small Black community that was surrounded by a larger white community. So I had the opportunity. My mom and dad, they were both in the house. I had mom and dad growing up, and they both worked. So we were. They made just enough money for me to know how much we didn't have when I got around people who had a little bit more. You know what I mean? So I mean, the struggle was real, but it wasn't a real struggle because we didn't know what we didn't have because it wasn't there. But the beautiful thing about our community was that the community relied on itself as far as resources were concerned. So it was nothing for, mom to send me to Mommy Dot or Miss Barbara or Aunt Nan down the street or Miss West, to go get something from them, or take them, a dozen ears of corn or something, or go shovel their walk. It was nothing for that to happen all the time. And as a result, I'm saying that because as a result, I believe there were many people who poured seeds in the soil of my life coming up in the communities that I did, because the community was the resource that it had for itself. So I got to see some really strong Black men. And at that time, we called them the old heads. The old heads, they poured into us so we could be better than they were. It was like, go after whatever's next. You don't want to do this. I'll teach you how, but you don't want to do this. You want to do that. What do you see? Because if you see it, you're supposed to be it. And I mean, I say that over and over again. So that was kind of my upbringing. A beautiful thing about my upbringing, I'll point out, is my mom. She was born in Lynchburg, Virginia, and in high school she did the business track. So she knew a thing called shorthand. I know a lot of folks don't even know what shorthand is anymore. So she got a job at the oldest historically Black college and university, Cheney University of Pennsylvania, um, because she knew how to do shorthand as a secretary. Well, my dad went back to school. I remember him getting his degrees. I saw him get his degrees. And every time he got a degree, something changed in our quality of living. Well, she was able to get him an interview on Cheney's campus. So now both my mom and dad worked on Cheney University's campus. So I kind of literally almost grew up, on that campus, running around and, knowing the athletes and the different professors and things of that sort. So for me, it wasn't like, if you're going to college, it was like when you go to college, because that was part of the culture that I was exposed to. So I feel privileged, if you will, in that respect. But that's a little bit about my upbringing.
Wow. Yeah. So you've been doing so many things in the educational field. Tell us a little bit about your background in education and how you got to where you are today.
So I have to say this, and I always start out when people ask me this question, I always start out and say, man, I never did, and I still don't like school. I just never did. I don't. The way school is set up and the way the mechanism of school is set up, I don't think necessarily meets the needs of especially at potential BIPOC populations today. But I always loved to learn. I understood that education was the difference and not necessarily school. So, I went to college. I got it took me 7 years to get my bachelor's, but I got that bachelor's degree. And from there I went on and I did work as an engineer at Naval Sea Systems Command. I was a structural engineer. I young and dumb, long story short, moved back to the Philadelphia area to get married to someone who didn't want to move away. And I needed a job. So the quickest job I could get at that time, the Philadelphia School District was looking for people that could teach math. Well, I was great at math. So I went in, Black male, understood the community. Of course, they hired me. I didn't mean to be a teacher. I just wanted to do that for a minute. And as I looked for another engineering job, well, I got in front of those students, man, and I still remember the look in their eyes. They needed me. I had something they needed. And I remembered what that felt like. And I knew at that point that was my purpose. That started my quest and my journey in my career. So I tried to leave education a few times, always wound up back. I got a master's degree in math, a master's degree in educational leadership. I went and did my PhD in ed leadership. And I worked as a math teacher, a science teacher. I was a principal, helped start a couple of charter schools. I worked in the community college, and then I went on to University of Arizona Global Campus, where I lead programs. I actually wrote the teacher preparation program. They didn't have it before I got there. So we actually wrote the program, got their credentials, and wrote all the curriculum. And, I lead the team of teachers that produces teachers. There's a whole lot in the middle of there, but I think that pretty much sums it up.
That sums it up. But you have role models, and just like you said, your parents. You grew up knowing that it's not if you're going to college, it's when you're going to college. And being a role model like you are, and all of these programs, and working with our youth and young adults who, just like I said, are going to be our future leaders of tomorrow. Tell us about, I want to talk about this. The title of the show is 4 Steps to Unlocking Your Next Opportunity. What things moved you to begin speaking to people about the way to prepare for their next opportunity? And I believe that education is a big part of everything that we do.
Yes. So as I answer that question, I guess I have to explain what I mean by education. So I've always worked of what I call at potential populations. People say at risk. I refuse to say at risk because that is a a deficit term. I say at potential because it's a term of assets. When I look at human beings, I think we, especially our students in our urban schools, we need to see them as a seed. And when you look at a seed, it's not just a seed. The seed has the potential to be a tree that produces fruit that has seeds that can be planted, that produces another tree that has fruit that can have seeds. So a seed has a never-ending potential. And I believe that I found that when I was in the urban schools teaching, that that wasn't the case. You know, folks saw the students more as kind of at risk. I need to do this for them. I need to help them do this so that they can accomplish this, that, or whatever, and never really looked at the student to say, well, what's really in them? You know, is my job really to put something in them, or is my job really to create the environment so that what's in them can come out? So the whole idea of education to me, I went to college, but everyone doesn't go to college. You might go to a trade school or technical school. You might go into service. You might be an entrepreneur and start a business. Either way, you have to educate yourself, which means you're cultivating your thinking. You're becoming an expert in some area of content such that you can synthesize or produce a new thing with that information. And that new thing that you're producing, you're able to, I'm going to say, sow seeds in the field to produce something that's going to give not just you a return, but it's going to impact society. So to me, that's what education is about. It's about liberating thinking so that we can find new solutions and transform our society. So when I was in the schools, I was realizing that there were a lot more students that may have gone to college, but they were right back there, you know, a semester later, sitting on the wall outside the school. I was a principal. There was a wall outside the school at the park across the street. And I would see the same people that you just graduated. You're supposed to be gone. What are you doing sitting there? You know, so I started talking to folks and finding out what's going on. You know what? You finished school. You know, what's your next? And they had no idea. They had no concept of possibilities and you know, future and you know, anything past their arm. You know, can only see as far as they could see, where you got to actually look farther than you can see. So I started talking to young folks years ago about, I said, you're next. I didn't even say opportunity or possibility. I said, what's your next? You know, because I wanted them to understand that it was your next what? Well, you define it. I just know there needs to be a next. You have to define what that is and what it looks like. So in our communities, especially my BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color communities, especially if it's low economics in that community, there seems to be a locked-in thinking, a circular thinking, a survival mindset type thinking. And the thing with the survival mindset, there's nothing wrong with a survival mindset, but it's not meant to be sustained. You're not supposed to live in a survival mindset. Survival mindset is supposed to alert you that there's danger so you can adjust and survive. And then you move on, you know, and you produce, you thrive. But many of our communities have gotten locked in this survival mindset piece where, you know, we never reach past a cycle and we perpetuate the same thing over and over again. So what I want to do is poke little holes, if you will, in that cycle so that people could hear and understand that whatever's going to happen next to me is up to me. And it's a real simple way of doing it. So at first, when we started talking about that, you know, people would look at me with this glazed look in their eyes because there was no process. And I understood that, okay, so they need steps. You know, folks need something concrete. They need a B, and C, something linear to follow and to know that progress is being made. So that's where the 4 steps came up with. It wasn't always 4 steps. It was a lot of steps at first. I started condensing them down in 4 steps that I kind of teach young folks and older folks, the adults that I work with now as well. That's a long answer. Huh?
Hold that thought, Dr. Newt. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up from there. So if you want to be part of this great conversation, this, like I said, you can go to whatever mechanism you're watching, and was it StreamYard, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, E360 TV. You can ask this great man any questions that you want. We'll be back shortly after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I got this fantastic guest, Dr. Newt, and we're talking about the title of the show, 4 Steps to Unlocking Your Next Opportunity. And just like Dr. Newt was saying, we always have to plan ahead. We have to be able to see past the tip of our nose. We have to be able to see the vision for the next steps. We have to have a next step. I mean, and everybody have that opportunity, I believe, Doc. And just understanding that you got to move. You cannot stay in the same spot,
Right.
Forever. So, can you pick it up from there?
Yeah. So we were kind of talking about the 4 steps, and I guess I'll tell you about them in a few minutes. But one of the reasons why it's important to have one, I learned years ago. I was my dad used to always say to me, I played sports, and after the game, he would say, "Well, why do you think that worked? Why do you think that didn't work?" And one day I got the confidence to ask him, "Dad, why you always ask me why? What I mean? Did we win or not?" He's like, "Because if you know why, then you can repeat a thing. If you don't know why, then you might be able to repeat it and you might not." So I kind of remembered that conversation, and fast forward years later, I had my own son, pretty good in sports. And I remember one race he was running, and he was behind in the race. It was a relay, and he was behind in the race. And I saw him catch up to the guy. It was a 400. And in the backstretch, he kind of just, after he caught up to him, he just paced him. And I wonder, why didn't you just pass him and win? So they get the second turn. They come around the third turn. It's the last 100 yards. And all of a sudden, I see my son kind of move to his outside shoulder. And, he kind of pumps his arm, straightens up. His pace changed. And he wins the race by like 5 yards, right? So that night I asked him, what did you do? How'd you know when to kick like that? Because he was behind the guy the whole time. And he said, well, you always taught me to think about why that you win. Why am I winning? And he said, I noticed whenever I run, when someone reaches their top speed and they can't go any faster, something changes in their stride. Either their head moves different in their arms or their feet. And I noticed that his head and his feet started moving different. And I knew he couldn't go any faster, but I could. So that's when I took off and won the race. So why am I saying that to you? Because my son was consciously competent. He wanted to win the race, but he had a strategy, he had a plan. He had something that he knew that once that thing happened, then this is what I do. And we have to have that same approach to our next opportunities. Success doesn't happen by accident. It's on purpose, you know, and we all have a purpose, and that purpose is meant to solve a problem. And because it's going to solve a problem, we're going to meet some opposition. And we have to not think we need to be perfect, but just have a plan and be willing to move forward to accomplish it. So, I mean, you know, that's kind of why I think this is important and why I think it works with folks, because it makes them consciously competent, not unconsciously competent, just kind of guessing, is this going to work or not? Now, here's a strategy. Here's a sequence you can follow, you know, and tailor it to you as you go.
Wow. You know, that you talk about the why. The why is so important in anything that we do. At least I think it is.
Right.
Because once you understand the why, I believe that it's easy to get a grasp of how.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because you know what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And you mentioned a plan.
Right.
And we all have to have a plan, and we all have to understand within ourselves, I believe, Doc, that we all have purpose and potential,
Right.
Regardless of what situation or circumstances that we might be in. You know, that's just a temporary thing. But
Right.
planning ahead and being able to understand why kind of give you that energy, give you that power to dig deep inside, just like your son, dug deep inside, and he knew when to step forward.
Right. So when we kind of look at the plan, I guess the steps in these 4 steps that we talk about, the first thing that we came up with, especially dealing with our folks from Black and brown communities, usually low-income communities, is that there is a reluctance to share their dream. We're reluctant to say what we want to be, where we want to go. What am I dreaming? What do I see when I close my eyes? You know, and we're reluctant to say that because our conditions around us say something different. So we're afraid to say what we see, and that thing we see is farther than we can look. We will only speak on what's around us. So the first step in this process is admit your dreams. Admit your dreams. And I use that word admit on purpose because most of us are bad dreamers, right? And we're scared to admit our dreams, one, because we don't want to look silly. And another reason is because now it forces us to be accountable. Because when you admit your dreams, now you're saying that you've identified the gap between where you are and where you want to be, with what you have and what you don't have and want to accomplish. So now I got to be accountable to do the things that will put me in position to get to where I want to go. So step 1 is simply just admit your dreams, and stop justifying and blaming, and complaining. We tend to do that. It's the system and it's embedded racism and institutional this, and all those things may be true. It may exist, but that has nothing to do with my dream. That has nothing to do with what I can control in me to move forward in my dream. It may make it a little more difficult, but it doesn't stop me. So step 1, simply admit your dream. And in step 2, you got to take an inventory of your life. And this is something I think that we, as human beings, we avoid. But we got to take an inventory of our life. And we got to get real honest. I tell people to get a thinking spot. So I have a place either in my backyard I'm working out, or in my office where I sit down and I just think, and I evaluate what's good, what's bad, what's working, what's not working, what I like, what I don't like. Find those gaps in your life, and then you write them down. Don't just get them in your head. Write them down so that there's somewhere you can look at them. That makes them more real to you, more concrete. So I'm saying write down the gaps, write down the difficult spots where you're stagnant. Write those things down, identify them, right? Why? Because now I want you to think about, okay, why are they there? What's making this a stagnant spot, a difficult spot? What's making this so difficult? You know, and I can almost guarantee you, you're going to back that up to something that has to do with you. So step 2 is to say, after you do that inventory, to say, well, maybe it's me. I'm the consistent thing in all these settings. Maybe it's me. Maybe I have something to do with this, right? I have this thing I call 99 and 1 deserves 100. So I don't care if 99% of what happened to you in your life, and I've talked to a lot of people and some really tragic things have happened in people's lives. I mean, brings you to tears. It really hurts your heart. And it wasn't their fault. Those things were not their fault, right? But what happened after those things, the culture that was built, or the decisions that they made, or the choices, you know, or where they decided to stay or not stay, those things were those individuals' responsibility. It's not your fault, but what happens next is your responsibility. You still have a responsibility to release your potential into the universe. So I say 99 and 1 like this. I don't care if 99% wasn't your fault. You focus on that 1% that's yours, and that deserves 100% of your attention, your time, your talent, and your effort. And if you can work that way, now it's easier for you to say, okay, well, maybe it's me. Maybe something needs to change in me. And then here's the really powerful part of step 2, drop the maybe. Say, maybe it's me, then drop the maybe. It's me. What's the 1% I can control? And that's where you put your attention. So you got to understand that your fingerprints on everything you do. Good, bad, ugly, your fingerprints on it. Why? Because you did it, right? So what we have to realize is that the moment that I think that I have nothing to do with the mess that's in my life, then I lose the ability to get myself out of that mess. Maybe it's me, and then drop the maybe. So that's step 2, right? So now I'm accountable. I admit I got a dream. It's there. I can kind of see it. And then I drop all of the excuses. I make myself accountable. Maybe it's me that I'm here and not there. Step 3 is the promised land. You got to see the promised land. This is based on something called backwards design. So you start with the end in mind. So now I have this promised land, right? I identify what it is, and I start to think about, okay, what do I need to do to get there? So you research, or you ask people, or whatever the case may be, and you come up with this list of things that you need to do to get to your promised land, but you start backwards. You start from the promised land, and then you start listing those things to where you are. Now you start moving forward towards those things, one step at a time, one benchmark at a time. And that's called backwards design. And every time you accomplish one of those little things, you celebrate yourself, man. I don't care who else, you celebrate yourself, and then you jump right back in and keep it moving, right? So you got to, why I call it the promised land is because if you see it, then you're supposed to be it. If you see it, then you're supposed to be it. Not you can be it. You're supposed to be it. That's why you see it. I believe I'm a man of faith. I believe we all have what's called a Jeremiah 1:5, where God said, I formed you, I knew you. He was intimate with us, knew us, and formed us with a certain purpose, and then ordained us when we were yet in our mother's womb to accomplish that purpose. So when I was still a spirit, God gave me a purpose on this planet, and then I was birthed here to accomplish that thing. So if I'm seeing it, it's because it's already in there. So I'm supposed to be it. And then the second reason I call it a promised land is because it's the promise that motivates you. You got to have a promise, a destination that motivates you. And you got to be aware of it. I mentioned my son before. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's about a 500-mile ride from here, right? So my motivation is to get all the way there, to get off this road and get all the way there. But I know, okay, I don't want to start at a certain time of day because if I get around Quantico and Virginia, that area, traffic's going to be bad. Um, uh, I can't have just a quarter tank of gas. I'm not going to make it. I need a whole tank. Those kind of things are in play when you're thinking about the promised land, and it motivates you to get to where you're trying to go. So make a promise to yourself is what I'm saying. And if you make that promise to yourself, then you can be accountable to the consequences if you don't do what it takes to accomplish the promise. See, when you break a promise to yourself, then you're telling yourself that everyone and everything is more important than you. So that's why we call it the promised land. Admit your dream, right? Then make yourself accountable. Why am I not at that dream? Well, maybe it's me. Drop the maybe. Well, what's my promised land anyway? What's the promise I'm making to myself? How do I get there? What's the things I need to do to get there? And then step 4 is simply this: change your mind. Not change your mind, but change your mind, right? So don't just make a different decision. Change this thing. It cannot be the same. If you always do what you always did, then you'll always get what you always got. What's driving me? Everywhere I go head first. So I got to change my mind. So how do I change my mind? I intentionally put myself around people, places, and things that make me uncomfortable with where I am today. I don't want to spend my time around people who are okay with me in this state, in this frame, where I am right now. I want to not be the smartest person in the room any longer. I want to be the person that is different. I want to change those 5 closest people around me, because you're the average of the 5 closest people around you. I want to step out of that 5 and find another 5, and I want to shoot for them. I want to find out. I want to go to people who have gone where I'm trying to go. I want to follow them online. I want to read their stuff. I want to, change how my day looks, get up earlier, go to bed later, whatever the case may be. I want to change my mind, my thinking, because if I'm changing my thinking and I'm changing what I'm saying, then I'm going to change what I'm doing. And if I'm changing what I'm doing, eventually that becomes habit. And then habit becomes culture. I change who I am. Next thing you know, I've kicked down doors and walked into new plateaus. I've seen new opportunities. I'm on to what's next without even trying. That's
Wow.
the first steps.
This is so incredible. And I believe that your thought process, a lot of things that you talk about, is the same thing that I talk about. Because, just like I said, you have to be able to see past the tip of your nose.
Right.
And I believe, Doc, that we all have to have what we call vision, understanding,
right,
and focus. Vision, understanding, and focus. When you have those, I believe it provides you with a key.
Yes.
Just a key to unlock the door. And there might be 1,000 doors or it might 100 doors, but we have to be able to narrow it down with the focus.
Right.
Because that key only going to unlock one of those doors.
Right.
And depending on where you think you might want to go, what you think you might want to do, you have to be able to see it, just like you said.
Right.
Even if a wall is there, we have to be able to see past that wall.
Right.
Because if you can see it up here,
right,
you can do it.
Right.
So I want to ask a quick question before we take a break. Is one, you mentioned the 4 steps, is one more important than the other?
No. So again, I talked about we all have a purpose. The purpose is an answer to a problem. The thing that goes along with that is my name is Newton Miller. I'm the second. So my father was senior. My son is the third. I have a grandson who's the fourth, right? But there was never, even though there's 4 Newton Millers that I know, Newton H. Millers, right, with similar DNA, there's only one Newton H. Miller II. There's only ever been one Newton H. Miller II with this DNA that can do what this person can do the way he can do it and get the results he can get. And after I die, there'll never be another Newton H. Miller II that can do what I can do, get the results I can get the way I can get them. That goes for every individual. Every single individual is that we're in this place in this time because it's our time to release what's in us. When we're gone, that cannot be done any longer. Why is that the answer to your question? Because we're all in different places. We're all unique. We're all in different levels of development. We all have different needs. We all, we're differentiated. So we have to accommodate differently with that plan. Like, for instance, with me, at one point in my life, the maybe it's me, drop the maybe. That's where I focused a lot because I was a blamer. Now I matured past that. So I focus more on the change your mind phase, because I need to make sure I'm staying in a place where I'm constantly cultivating myself and growing, because I'm always pouring out to others. So I got to have something to pour out. So no, one step's not greater than the other. They all need to happen, and they might not necessarily happen in order like that, depending on where you are. But they're all important. So you need to understand how they are. And that's what I like about the system, is that you can tailor it to you. But those principles, they're unchangeable and they're very solid.
Wow. We're going to take a station break, but this is so interesting. This is going to take, hey, Doc, I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to take another show. Hey, I'm just putting it out right now, because this is needed, and it's so valuable to our future leaders of tomorrow, and not just that, but to our folks for today, especially in the Black and brown community. So I tell you, we're going to take a station break, and if you want to be part of this conversation, just like I said, you see Dr. Newt had put it down, and we got to open up our ears, open up our eyes, and just open up our minds,
right,
and absorb this. We'll see you right after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Well, our program is built on the 4 C's, and the 4 C's are create. Create is the thoughts that we have. Each and every last one of us have these thoughts, these ideas, these dreams. We have these things every day. A lot of times when we get these thoughts, we don't want to do anything but lay down and go back to sleep or whatever that might be, and we wake up and the thoughts are gone. I believe that a high spirit always telling us something every single day. Every single day. So create the ideals that you get, that you think about, that you dream of. You say, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it.
Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show, and I tell you, this great man, Dr. Newt here, is, educating us, and it's just telling you like it is. And I believe that, again, just like we would close this right before the break, that you have to be able to absorb certain things. And you have to, I believe, just like he said, you are a sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. If you're hanging out with them, all the time, you look at their reaction, you look at them, you one of the same. Mm-hmm. Difference. So you surround yourself with people, first of all, that you can trust. Secondly, that are going to make you smart
Right.
and lift you up. Just like you can't always be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
If you are, you're in the wrong room. You're in the
You're in the
wrong
wrong room. You're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So I want to pick it up with that Doc. And I know that you looked at the PowerPoint you had. You talked about 12 methods, or you talked about 12 areas.
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about
Sure. So along with the method, as we kind of came up with the 4 steps so that we could be more strategic in helping people be consciously competent about preparing for their next, we had to make a tool, if you will. So the tool is just and I'll make sure you get a link to a Google Doc or something. You can download this, or you can just contact me on one of my social media spots, and I'll send it to you. But we just created a tool where for each of the steps, we had some activity for folks to do so they can reflect and be more consciously competent about what it takes for them to get in position to, move forward with their next. So before I say that, though, I do want to say this, because a lot of times we say this wrong. We say, you always hear people say you're the sum total of the 5 people around you. It's really you're the average of the sum total of those 5 people around you. So if you're looking at those 5 people around you, some of them might be better, some of them might be left, but you're right in the middle. Either way, it's not the place you want to be. You want to push yourself in another direction. But the tool that I was talking about, I have it in my hand here. It's just a 1-sheeter, but I mean, after you type it in, of course, it'll be longer. There's 3 columns. In the first column, we say, listen, admit your dreams. We have a list of the steps. Admit your dreams. Maybe it's me. Cross out the maybe. What's the promised land? And change your mind. So in the admit your dreams section, there are 12 basic categories of life that we looked through. We did some research with some different sources to see how are people defining their life. Now, this is a very good conversation, again, in our BIPOC communities, especially because our lives tend to be survival based. So we have blinders on what actually makes up the totality of our life. So these 12 categories, I read them to you: relationship to self, your body, your spirituality, career, money, time, your home life, family relationships, friends, fun and adventure, community, contribution to society. Those are the 12 big categories that research says are common, in the average life here in our society in America. So we had that conversation so we can try to force people to start thinking about their life. You can think of like a wheel on a bicycle. So you got the wheel, and the wheel has what? It has spokes, has a bunch of spokes, but they're all on that wheel. Without those spokes, that wheel can't hold together. You need spokes for the wheel. So those categories are like the spokes on the wheel of your life. And we have to be intentional and think about them so that we're knowing how to, I'm going to say, feed each of those areas, cultivate each of those areas, know when something's out of whack or not out of whack. Sometimes build those parts of our lives. And so that's why it's 12 of them. That's what they're about. On the worksheet, what we ask people to do is list your dream for each of those 12 basic categories of life and write those dreams in present tense. Not I want to or one day I will. Write it as I am. I am a project engineer. I am a YouTube influencer. I am a pediatrician nurse. I am whatever it is that you say, and write it as that, so you can now start talking to yourself and putting yourself that way. But also what you've done is you've looked at every area of your life and you've given every area of your life a charge. You've given every area of your life a challenge. You have just put your whole life on Front Street and said, this is what you're going to be. Matter of fact, you already are. Let's just go after it now. So as the sheet goes down, that's the first part. As the sheet goes down with maybe it's me section, we tell you to pick 3 of those 12. 3 of those 12, any 3. And And those three need to be areas that you're ready to attribute to yourself. Areas that you're ready to say, you know what, maybe it is me. Drop the maybe. So that's what you do on the second part of the sheet. And then you say, why can I cross out the maybe? So not only am I ready to say maybe it's me and drop it out, but let's talk about it. Tell me why I can drop out the maybe here. So that's the kind of second level of the sheet. And then the third level, you're looking at the promised land piece, which is step 3. So what promises are you going to make to yourself now? The promise is that it is August now. By December, Dr. Newt is going to create 12 new minute of medicines for your mind. That might be my promise I'm making to myself. So I now need to say, how do I hold myself accountable for making those 12 minute of medicines for your mind? Well, now I got to write the steps. I got to get a topic. I got to study. I got to, put the thought together. I got to create the time to record it. Now I got to mix the recording down, so those kind of things. That's what step 3 does as far as the promised land. How do I get to the promised land? You don't want to be Moses. We Joshua's right here, right? And then the last step in that tool for the change your mind piece, what we actually do is say, take that inventory and say what people, places, and things need changing. What do you need to change in your life right now? It's not going to cost you nothing except a little bit of inconvenience. What do you need to change right now? I need to stop watching so much TV. What do you need to change? I need to change. I need to stop eating so many tasty cakes. I shouldn't have said the name brain. So many cakes and cookies and sodas, whatever it is. What do I need to change right now? What's in my, so you get that list, and you don't make it a long list, you make it a short list, because you want to take little bites. And then you say, okay, this is what I need to change. Now in the next column, well, what am I going to do to change it? Well, when I go to the grocery store, and this is true story. I know in the last aisle at the grocery store, we go all the way back across from the milk. That's where the cupcakes and stuff are. I love cupcakes, right? So I know I'm not going back there, because when I see them, I'm going to get them pecan twirls, Jack. And they're not even going to make it home. I'm going to eat them in the car. So what do I do to make sure that I can, change this thing? So don't just identify what you need to change. Say what you need to do to change it. So that's what that tool is about, this sheet. So we'll make it available to you if you'd like to have it. And I do it maybe twice a year with myself, just to reflect and try to keep myself pointing forward.
Wow, that's a very valuable tool that you have there. So yes, I would love to get it, and if it's okay with you, I would share it.
Yes, yeah.
I would share that. Let's on your website. You state a lot of things. One thing that caught my attention was a minute of medicine for your mind. Can you explain that?
That's my baby right there. I've been a little lazy with it lately, though. So I had a really rough time in my life, really dark time in my life, and I needed to get out of that time. I mean, it was either I was going to go down the tubes and be strung out, locked up, or dead, or I was going to get up and be what I believed I really was on the inside, but was afraid to say. As human beings, thousands of thoughts go through our mind a day. Thousands, literally, of thoughts go through our mind a day. And in that time, when I was working on myself, I would catch one thought, just reach up and catch one thought. And I'd pull that thought down and I'd write it on a paper. I got pads of them around me now, pads of thoughts, just one-liners, two-liners. And then what I started to do is I would look at those thoughts on a daily basis, for myself. And I realized, what? The best way to help yourself is to help somebody else. So I would take that one thought, I would cultivate it into like a minute, a message, no more than 2 minutes. I try to go like one and a half or so down. And I would make a real quick motivational message, if you will, around that thought. and I'd call it a minute of medicine for your mind and share it with folks. So I started doing it, and at first it was just a text I would send to a group of people. And a friend of mine called me and he said, I think it's time for an upgrade. So I started getting my cell phone and holding it out and talking, recording myself. And then I learned how to edit a little bit. So I'll put an intro and an outro, stuff like that, or words on there. So I think it's 400 or 500 of them on that Minute of Medicine for Your Mind YouTube channel. I did get lazy with them. And I mentioned to you earlier today that I have a goal to do a certain amount because I have been compelled to jump back in them and do those. So that's actually something I'm going to do. So that's what Minute of Medicine for Your Mind is. It's a thought to help you just center yourself so you can do a little bit better today than you did yesterday. That's all.
Yeah. So you have a YouTube channel. You got several different mechanisms. Let's talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about your book. Why some seeds don't grow.
Okay.
But tell them how they can watch your YouTube and your website and all that great stuff. And let's get off into that book as well.
Okay. Well, my website is www.drnewt, the number 2. So DRNEWT, the numeral 2.com. That's because I'm the second. So Dr. Newt 2. .com. My son's is going to be drnewt3.com. Loading is coming. I'm speaking it out there, right? Right. We have a YouTube channel called A Minute of Medicine for Your Mind. A Minute of Medicine for Your Mind. And again, all those little videos on there, you can see them progress. If you go way back, you can see them. I even look younger when I first started doing them, right? We have a Facebook. We have another YouTube channel. Actually, my wife and I. It's called Launch 360 TV. Launch 360 TV. Every Saturday we do a broadcast where we help people launch their life using godly principles. We have my Facebook. It's just Newton Miller. And if you go to Newton Miller, I have other pages. But if you inbox me, I can direct you to those pages. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn. Because, being a professor and everything, that's kind of the medium for my professional piece. But you can follow me on there as well. I try to blend the principles together so no one can tell where I'm coming from,
Dr. Newt, we're down about the last 2 minutes. Tell us a little bit, about your book.
Okay.
And the next show, which there will be a part 2 unless you don't have time.
Okay.
We'll go in detail about it. So
okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
Well, we actually have 2. I have 2 books. So this one here, Why Some Seeds Don't Grow, I wrote. This one, Baggage Claim, my wife and I wrote. It's on marriage. So Why Some Seeds Don't Grow, really, as a principal in a school, I saw that there was this culture gap between a lot of the teachers and the students in the urban neighborhood, because most of the teachers weren't urban dwellers. So I wrote the book to give educators, teachers, mentors, anyone that work with urban youth, to give them 10 principles they can follow so that they can help those urban youth unlock the potential that was in them. That's so I named the book, Why Some Seeds Don't Grow, because you're not creating the environment for them to grow. So let me tell you what their principles are for that environment. If you do these things, then whatever techniques and methods you use, they'll grow more, they'll produce more. So that's what the book's about. Real short book, written as a gigantic metaphor where the students are the seeds and we are the seed caretakers.
Dr. Newt, I really want to get you back on in about 3 weeks because there's so much that we did not cover within an hour. So can we do that? Can we do a part 2?
We can do a part 2. We can We can work together to do that. And I won't run my mouth as much.
I tell you, we're down to that last minute of the show, but we will have Doc Newt back on in about 3 weeks. We're going to have part 2, and we're going to pick it up from here because there's so much more that he's going to share with us, and we didn't have enough time today. So I want to thank you, Doc, for taking the time to come on the show. You'll begin the invite in the next few days, and I want to leave everybody with this message. I want everybody to always understand the potential that you have inside of you. You always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do.
Yes.
And remember that you can. You can. But just like Dr. Newt said, you have to be able to understand that I am not, I will, I would try. So
I am. Mhm.
thank you so much, Dr. Newt, and we'll have you back on. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's Your Life. That was incredible, Dr. Newt.
Outstanding. Good.
Incredible. Hey, I apologize, man. It was so much that we did not cover in this, and I certainly want to get off into those books. I want to learn a little bit more and also share with our listeners about baggage claim, the ones that you and your wife wrote, and your book over there at the Seeds. And not just that, but a lot of other things that you're doing. So we can do this. I mean, I said 3 weeks. Just let me know what's a good date for you. And right now, I think the calendar today is open for that time frame.
So 3 weeks. You talking about that last week in August, first week in
yes.
September?
Yes. Yeah, so I'll tell you what, Michelle will just reach out to you.
All right.
But I certainly want to pick this up. And wow, this was so powerful, so valuable. And wow, man. I would love to share the stage with you one of these days.
We will. Baby steps. Let's get it moving. I got a lot to learn from you. You got all the platforms going.
That's just, hey, that's God doing it. He's gonna do that for all of us, man. He'll do that for all of us, man. But we're still working on this. We're working on a couple of things. Working with, and I know got some peeps that probably listen right now still, because we still live on there. Projects over in Africa. Want to kind of get involved in that. Want to try to, venture out there to my television wise. And so we're talking a little bit about stuff like that.
Outstanding.
But I tell you, let's talk a lot more, man. And whatever I can do to help you out, like I told you.
Yes.
I'm here to do that.
Gotcha.
What are you working on right now?
Well, working on a few things. I got 2 books that are in front of me. One that has to do with classroom management, and another has to do with young men and fatherhood. My wife and I were building our, we call it launch ministry, if you will. We are looking to do some more marriage conferences. So we have a whole marriage conference series that we could do virtual or face-to-face. Those are some of the things just off the top of my head that are moving forward. I got to get this minute of medicine back alive again.
As the pandemic kind of slowed us down. I mean, I know Michelle and I kind of slowed us down tremendously. I'm working on 3 books at the same time.
Wow.
Right now. And I got 2 of them all completed. I'm just doing the editing, and then, I got to negotiate with my publisher. Right. Because might not use the same publisher. I don't know. Right. But we're working on those types of things, and want to get back on the speaking tour again.
Right.
We're just gonna see, where God leads us.
Yeah.
But
It's two sides to me. I call it my work side, which is the stuff we talked about today, and then I have a professional side. That's the educator. So I do a lot of speaking engagements at universities and things of that sort as well. But I think that's like the French fries to the meal. That makes sense.
oh yeah. But I tell you what, let's continue to communicate, and let's plan on working together on some project if we can collaborate on it.
Sure. I'm definitely down for that. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, Doc, I want to thank you again. And just like I said, Michelle is going to send the invite out because we got to pick up part 2. we got to continue. This was so powerful.
Okay.
And I just want to thank you. Thank you so much. Ran out of time. Was not able to load the video because I did not realize time had got by. Michelle told me, you got less than a minute.
No big deal. I mean, I could send a different format or make it short. I didn't know what to even do. I just pulled some pieces.
No, that was fine. What you had, I just ran out of time. Didn't get a chance to upload it, okay. And I did not want to interrupt the show.
Gotcha.
By doing that because we could threw ourselves off air and
we had enough content.
Right. So, hey, Doc, I want to thank you. And,
all right, sir.
You and your beautiful wife have a wonderful, wonderful day, and look forward to having you on again in 3 weeks.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.